Hi everyone, welcome to the Healthy Brain Exchange podcast. I'm Dr. Ash and we're here to discuss the latest in neuroscience to help you achieve optimum brain health and cognitive wellness. Today's episode is going to be quite epic. We've got a lot of information to get through. We're going to be covering something that is going to be of benefit for all listeners. It's all about focus and flow. So what's that mean? Why do some days you feel like you're firing on all cylinders and other days you can't even string two words together? So that's what we're going to be covering today. Joining me today, as usual, is our co-host, Kira. Welcome, Kira.
Hi, Ash. Hi, everyone. Today I'm so thrilled to unpack the science behind laser focus and effortless productivity, which we all need in our day-to-day lives.
Yeah, we certainly do. So let's start off with the big question, what is flow? Now, I think we all do know that, but let's explain a little bit more. It's like when you're in that zone where it's a state, actually, where time flies, self-criticism quietens, and creativity soars. So it's really important to be in that space. Now let's talk about how we get the brain in flow. What's the actual picture of the brain in flow? First thing you get is what's called a dopamine surge. Now, dopamine is called the motivation molecule. We also get what's called prefrontal cortex downregulation. Now, your prefrontal cortex is at the front of your brain. And what that does when that downregulates, this is great for everyone, our inner critic is silence. So when we get that silence, we get room to think. So, and that's a big thing that happens, that when you're out of the flow, your inner critic keeps going on and on. Another good thing we get is cross-region synchronization. So effectively what that means, all the regions across your brain are all working together and you get maximum efficiency. So while we're talking about this, I've got a neurological insight or neuroscience insight. Cutting edge functional MRI analysis shows that flow literally turns off the default mode network. Now, this is your brain's autopilot. So what that means, your goal-directed circuits can roar to life. So your default mode network, let me explain that a little bit to you. Now, Kira, you'd understand this. When we're talking, right, and you're trying to get someone's name, what do you do when you're trying to find it?
You just stop and you think, and everything stops. You try and completely think of their name and nothing else.
And do you find that eventually you give up trying?
Yeah.
Maybe 5 minutes later, the name pops into your head?
Yeah, it just pops out of nowhere.
Well, that's your default mode network. So what happens is it continually works behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. You get the information. But what's that do to you? It means that when that area is firing up, you're not actually getting that energy control. You're not getting the circuits firing and aligning well because your mind's ticking over behind the scenes. Yeah. A lot of people think, oh, that's a brilliant thing, but it means that you're not as efficient because your resources are taken to another part of your brain. Yeah. So you're not actually in the flow at that moment because you're struggling to be in it.
Okay.
So important to think the default mode network is great.
Yeah.
Now, another study which I found really fascinating, they studied over 5,000 executives and they studied flow states. And what they found, a flow state boosted productivity by up to 500% compared to normal work mode.
500%, that's a lot compared to what?
It is.
Yeah, it's incredible. But how do we coax our brain into getting into that flow so we can get 500 times more productivity in our day?
Well, hopefully it works for all of us in this study. I guess when you got to think about it is to get your brain working optimally, what's the main thing? And that is to master distraction. Distraction's our worst enemy.
Yeah.
right? Because it takes you away from your task. It brings your mind separate. You're not actually in the now. You're not in the flow state. So the key thing is to master distraction. So first thing, emotional hijacking. We've all had that. It's when your limbic system, which is your emotional system, hijacks your frontal cortex. Your frontal cortex is your thinking, your thought processes, your director. And that needs to be active when you're in the flow.
Yeah.
So what happens is you get all emotional, which is a lower level, takes over it. You get emotional about things, and then your prefrontal cortex takes a back seat. Right. It's all very nice to know that's what happens. Your focus goes when your prefrontal cortex or the whole frontal cortex is affected. So what's the solution? There's mindfulness and strategic pauses. So that's how we get our control back. So we're going to use these techniques, so using mindfulness and strategic pauses. So we'll get on to that later. We'll explain that in a little bit. But I want to share with you some more insights because it's fascinating what your brain can do. So there's another one I want to share with you before we get on to this technique. I've got to keep you in anticipation. And anticipatory keeps you alert, keeps you in the flow, keeps you focused, right? So another neuroscience insight. Meta-analysis reveals that excessive DMN connectivity, that's your default mode network that we've been talking about before, underlies mind wandering. But dialing it down, so we're talking about slowing that area down, sharpens focus, planning, and memory. So when you get your memory retrieval, slow down your default mode network. So that's really cool to know that how it works. There's another study where there was a Dr. Sarah Lazar's team at MGH, which is Massachusetts General Hospital, found that 8 weeks of mindfulness meditation increases grey matter density in the anterior cingulate and insular cortex, which are key hubs for attention and emotional regulation. So it's quite amazing.
So that's pretty much like growing the focus muscle in your brain.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's cool. Any tips or anything to be able to focus and grow that muscle so it comes more easier?
Yeah, well, okay. Look, all right, let's do one now.
Yep.
This will be good because we can actually start practicing it and see how you go with it. This is one of my favourite things. Inhale for 4. Just hold it gently. Then exhale for 6. Now we'll do that all together. Ready? Inhaling. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. And now exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, did you feel a bit of a pause? Now, hopefully you're doing this, that you can actually feel a pause when you stop. And what that is, the pause is actually toning down that limbic system. So it stops the hijacking of your frontal cortex. And it also, what you'll notice is that little space you have, your mind starts to become sharper.
Okay.
And this is what they've proved. This is what Dr. Sarah actually found, that you doing this, you actually do increase that area. Okay. So any time that you feel like you're losing it and you're out of the flow, go back to that quick breath.
Yep.
And if you do a few of them in a row, you'll find it'll be quite useful.
Okay, cool.
Now, we've got a few more little insights for you. So here are 4 of one of my favourites that I've found in the literature when we're reading for this podcast. There was one about BDNF blast from exercise. Now, BDNF is brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Now, think of BDNF as fertilizer for your brain. Okay, just to explain what it is. It's like it helps sustain your brain, but it also helps grow more neural networks, particularly in the hippocampus, right, which is your memory your memory area of your brain. So, number one was that for 5 weeks of aerobic exercise raises hippocampal BDNF by 30%. Effectively, what it does, it remodels your memory and attention circuits. So it actually works even when they were doing it with aging brains. So that's why exercise is good all the way through your life. In fact, as you get older, you should be exercising more, not less.
Okay.
Because this is where you start getting deterioration, cognitive deterioration. So you want to keep your brain going and your memory going, exercise. It does heaps of other things, but just when we're talking about the BDNF and what the research is saying, so 30% is huge. That's a big change.
Yeah.
Another interesting little takeaway for you is that there's a thing called a natural amphetamine surge. Now, this is, again, 30 minutes of intense exercise spikes phenethylamine, which is your brain's own amphetamine-like neurotransmitter. Now, this raises by 77%. So it's just underpinning that the runner's high is an actual focus boost. So we're getting this amphetamine sort of effect. That's that runner's high. But it actually increases that by 77% with intense exercise. And another little one is about catching errors before they happen. So in some research, they're doing functional MRIs, and what the data showed from these scans was that the posterior medial frontal cortex actively dips, and the DMNN ramps up to 30 seconds before a mistake. Okay, let's make that a bit more sense out of that. Frontal cortex drops, the default mode network increases. 30 seconds later, you make a mistake. So it means you're not focused. You're relying on that relay, that station you're still searching for answers in the background. So you've actually lost your focus. That's when mistakes are made. So this just hints that future neurofeedback could alert us to lapses before they occur.
Okay.
So if we can work out ways to be able to monitor this, like we're getting our watches for HRV and all sorts of things now, if we can work out a correlation when this happens, we can actually prevent making mistakes. So something to think about. That'll be coming up in the next lot of little devices, no doubt, that they'll sell and make a big lot of money out of.
Yep.
One more thing we'll talk about is non-invasive cognitive boost. This is February 2025, so it's only this year. Meta-analysis found that a nodal TDCS, which is transcranial direct current stimulation. Now, it's only a small current. It's not like electric shock therapy. It's convulsive therapy. Just pinpointing areas of the brain regions from your scalp, putting a little bit of a electrical charge in, very minimal, to stimulate that area. So what they found by doing this technique and then pairing it with cognitive tasks, it delivers reliable gains in working memory and executive function in mild cognitive impairment.
Okay.
So people that are actually starting to really struggle, this method can be of use to improve your memory and your ability to actually think out things and be able to function better.
Okay, cool.
So again, this will be things that will happen in the future where they start changing the way they're treating issues and conditions. And by doing this research, they can really help a lot of people. And that's what it's all about. Right. Let's get into how you supercharge your focus now.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a thing called Pomodoro Power Up, which takes about, it's all about dopamine. So it's what they find is that dopamine dips over extended work. So if you're sitting at your desk and doing lots of work, your dopamine actually starts to decrease. So how do we deal with it? So what they found is by doing 25 minutes, which they call a sprint, we're not actually sprinting, we're just doing work, then 5-minute breaks, which is a rest, it basically resets your motivation circuitry.
Okay.
So you're not allowing the dopamine to dip so much that then you get fatigued and go, I've had enough, and walk away from your desk.
Yeah.
And some people do that. They'll go, oh, I can only do 25 minutes, or say 30 minutes, right? That's after 25 minutes. They go, oh, I can only do 30 minutes. I'm done. I'm fried, not coming back. But if you took a break 5 minutes before you hit that level, your dopamine's still high.
Yeah.
Your motivation's still high. Walk away, come back, away you go again.
Okay.
So the evidence of it, what they found, is that the Pomodoro adopters report sustained attention gains, higher task completion in distraction-rich settings.
Yeah.
So distraction, you've got a lot of stuff going on around you, but by having these little breaks, you can keep your focus. So you stay in the focus and in the flow of things.
So what should you do on these breaks? Go for a walk, have a snack, drink, or just sit back and be like, have a breather?
You just do things where it's taking you away from what you're doing.
Okay, yeah.
Have a drink, sit back, take a breather.
Yep.
Everything you just said.
Yep.
So
okay.
it's really just having a break from that work environment.
Yep.
Where you're just taking that short break, 5 minutes, bit of breath time, and then you keep your dopamine levels up, which is your motivator, that we spoke about before. So another tip is after 4 sprints, which is 25-minute workload times, take a full 15-minute break. And that allows you to fully recharge.
Okay.
So every 25 minutes, 5 minutes break. After that cycle finishes 4 times, when you've done 25 minutes for 4 times, then you take a full 15-minute break.
Okay, yep.
So you're allowing yourself to really settle down.
Oh, wow.
Another good way to improve your focus is called mental visual priming, right? So what you basically do with this is where you start using your imagination. You spend 30 seconds vividly imagining your successful outcome. So you engage. What you're doing here, you're engaging your visual cortex and you're planning networks. So you're actually getting that brain fired up. You're getting those networks going. Yep. You're getting your focus going. So it's giving you a successful outcome. Yep. Don't sit there and focus on the negatives. Yep. You think, this is the successful, this is what it's going to look like, this is how it's going to feel. You immerse yourself in that. Now, so the tip here is to picture the completed project. Yep. Right? The colours, the sounds, the movements. Yep. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to wire in your focus. So you're wiring it in before you actually start.
Okay, yep.
So that gets your focus already there, because in your mind's already achieved, your brain will be fed that you've already going to have a successful outcome. So that increases your motivation and increases your focus.
Oh, cool.
Now, a little neuro-nutrition boost. Omega-3s, which is DHA and EPA, the EPA is an anti-inflammatory, so that helps get the inflammation out of your system. DHA is good for cellular structure. And so by taking this, what happens is it gets incorporated into neuronal membranes, and they enhance synaptic plasticity, which is what you do to help growing new pathways. Yep. It also helps blood flow to the attention hubs. So you're getting both the blood flow and you're getting the neural plasticity improved. This is interesting too, that higher intake actually correlates with improved processing speed and working memory.
Okay, cool.
So omega-3s. I
Yeah.
take them every day. I believe I'm still okay. And as I age, I'm going to keep them up
Yeah.
because I know the benefit about what omega-3s can do.
Yeah.
And to be honest, with most patients, I will be saying if they're not taking them, get on them,
Yeah.
right? Because they really have that great effect on your whole system.
Do all omega-3s have the same benefits, or do you have to do your research before you go to the chemist and just buy the cheapest one off the shelf?
You're better off getting the better quality ones, particularly if how they're stored. If they're stored in glass and they're in sunlight, it actually degenerates the EPA and the DHA. So you're better off in a dark, very dark bottle, or in a container that doesn't allow sunlight in.
Yep.
And it's also the quality, there are definitely different qualities that people put in, and there's different ratios of DHA to EPA. So I'm almost suggesting like a 1-to-2 ratio.
Yep.
So they're not all the same. So usually you get what you pay for.
Yep.
And I always suggest you do your research before you go in. The practitioner prescribed products are usually better quality as a rule.
Yep.
Not always. There are some good ones on the market, but yeah, do your due diligence before you go out and spend your money and get something that's going to work.
Yes.
You don't just want the placebo effect.
Yeah.
You want it. You know that it'll actually work then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's quite interesting. Another good thing, which I use a lot as well, is magnesium. Now, magnesium is really great. It actually supports calm, sustained attention, and it fine tunes NMDA receptors. Now, NMDA receptors, it's N-methyl D-aspartate. Now, that's what that stands for. But the receptors are like your brain's learning gatekeepers, is what they've been termed as quite a lot in the literature. What they've shown with using magnesium is that older adults in a higher magnesium intake group score 4+ points higher on standard cognitive tests.
Oh, wow.
So it just shows you how it does actually regulate.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, a little tip with this is boost your intake. You can snack on things like walnuts, putting flaxseed oil, drizzling flaxseed oil on salads, or even supplementing. Now, the best form for memory and focus is magnesium threonate.
Yep.
So there's a whole heaps of different magnesiums, which again I've got a video up about that on YouTube. So we talk about magnesium citrate, magnesium glycinate, magnesium L-threonate, and magnesium taurate. So magnesium threonate is what we're suggesting for our focus and memory function here. That is the best one. Now, question. Do we have anything in our grey matter mailbag, which is our questions?
We do.
We do. We got questions.
Yes. We have one here from Matt Price.
Hi, Matt.
Asking, would coffee or caffeine help with focus or the flow state, or is it better without any supplements like caffeine?
Yeah, well, caffeine has definitely shown to help in a few ways with boosting. It does increase blood flow.
Yep.
The problem with coffee, it's great in small amounts. Yep. It's when you overuse it. Now, you've probably noticed yourself, I find this with people, if they're anxious, right? I tell them to get off coffee.
Yep.
Because it has a heightened effect. If you're really feeling like lack of energy and can't focus, coffee can actually pick your system up. So that's where it can be good, because it actually brings you back into focus and puts you back into flow. If you're using coffee and you're already highly anxious, it'll make you worse.
Yeah.
Right? So it's prescribing it in the right time and for the right person.
Yeah.
Right? So it's very individual. Most people get addicted to their coffee. They don't have 2 or 3, 4 or 5, 6 or 7 in a day.
Yeah.
They start getting headaches. So it is an addictive substance, But yes, you can use it to improve your performance. There's lots of sports and athletes, sports people, athletes that use caffeine. You see it a lot in the energy drinks, high caffeine, to get people pumped up and get them going. Have you ever seen anyone who's had a Red Bull plus 3 coffees?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the effect is they are bouncing off the walls. Do you think they got good focus?
Nope.
No. Do you think their default mode network is taken over?
Nope.
Do you think that they're probably got emotional hijacking going on from their limbic system?
Yep.
Yes. So yes, too much. No, not good. Little bit, great, but it does depend on the state you're in.
Yep.
Now, do we have any more questions?
No, that's pretty much all the questions we have so far.
So just remember, we have got our grey matter mailbag, and we definitely love getting questions from people. So we help answer the things that are important to you and clarify what we did with the coffee there.
Yeah.
Right. So at this point in time, I think it's time to say sayonara. And again, if you are watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We are trying to grow this channel. We're trying to engage our audience more because we really want to give people the best opportunity with the right information, the latest scientific research to optimize their brain function and get cognitive wellness out there happening. And that's our passion and our drive. That's our focus and our motivation. And that puts us in the flow, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yes. So please follow through, and if you like this podcast, and then please tell other people, share the knowledge around. And I'd like to thank you all very much for coming, and I'd definitely like to thank Kira for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Stay well. We'll see you next time.
Bye.